We'll move on to our third position here, and I already hinted at it a little bit. Thought about saving it for last, just to make you guys listen all the way through the podcast and make you guys kind of anticipate it. But I already spoiled it. So we're going to be talking about linebackers, a tier two need. I stuttered over myself
You're
because
just so angry that you stuttered over yourself.
I am. I'm so angry about people saying that the Chiefs need to take Zaven Collins or Nick Bolton at 31. Why? Why do they need to do that? Please tell me. Please tell me what makes you think that the Chiefs should take Zaven Collins at 31. Is it because they drafted a linebacker last year and they have a linebacker already coming back? Well, it was pretty much, which we've already established. Connor and I, Connor, you could attest. We've established that Steve Spagnuolo likes to run with three safeties as opposed to three linebackers. Correct. We've already established that.
Correct. That is
Okay.
a correct statement.
Yeah.
Daniel Sorensen played double the snaps of Ben Neiman last year.
Bingo. Why do you think that we need to draft another linebacker? Not saying you do, Connor. I'm saying you, the listener. How come you think we need to draft another linebacker if we're only going to run with two? It doesn't make any sense. Do you want your number 2 pick overall, or number 31 pick is what a lot of people like to jump at? Do you want your number 31 overall pick to not play? Do you want them to be the Willie Gay of this year again? Do you want that to happen again? Not really. You really wouldn't want that to happen. I can see linebacker further on in the draft, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about other linebackers that we like. But right now, 31, Zaven Collins, Nick Bolton, it's a no for me. And both you and I, Connor, we're Mizzou fans. We both like Mizzou. We both like Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton is a good linebacker, but it's not worth the Chiefs taking him at 31.
Nick Bolton is Anthony Hitchens with upside.
Yep.
He can get better than Anthony Hitchens. I would hope so. He can get better, even though Anthony Hitchens last year was fine.
Yeah.
But when you're taking him where you are in the draft, you expect him to be better than Anthony Hitchens. He doesn't fit what the Chiefs need at all. The Chiefs need a will linebacker. They need the Ben Neiman replacement. So I don't know why people are clamoring for a Nick Bolton type when that just gives you three linebackers. Willie Gay has the most upside in coverage, but none of them are good in coverage yet. We don't know if Willie Gay is good in coverage at the NFL level yet. So I don't know what's the deal with the Nick Bolton love to the Chiefs. It's probably just Mizzou fans, and I get it. But why don't you just clamor for like Tyree Gillespie instead? I think that would make way more sense for the Chiefs. So Nick Bolton's out. Like Zaven Collins, the only time when I would be fine with linebacker at 31 is if the Chiefs fill a lot of the tier one needs in free agency. And they can fill probably two of them. They could probably fill wide receiver and they could probably fill edge in free agency. I think they will go for a role player type wide receiver. They said that they weren't going to run out and get like Allen Robinson. I buy that. But they could go out and get Marvin Jones, Kendrick Bourne, Josh Reynolds, somebody like that. And that would make me feel much better about the wide receiver room and a deep wide receiver class. And they might fill edge too with like a Trey Hendrickson or a Romeo Aquara or somebody like that in free agency. If they do that, linebacker, it's up there in needs. So I wouldn't mind it at least. If they don't do that, please stop mocking linebacker to the Chiefs at 31 because they have way too many tier one needs for that. And the only time I would be okay with it is like if, oh God, I call him JOK, the Notre Dame linebacker, who is like the quintessential. He's basically a safety, but he's the quintessential NFL will linebacker. I think he lined up in between the tackles last year. He lined up 17 times.
Golly.
That was it. That's all. He's a linebacker. That was crazy. He could definitely be an interesting pick, but he's not going to fall down to the Chiefs at 31.
Right.
And the interesting part about will linebacker is I think the Chiefs can fill this need in free agency. There is two names I really like there. Eric Wilson, the Vikings linebacker, and old Chief Kevin Pierre-Louis. Yes. Both were excellent. I wouldn't say excellent. They were very good coverage linebackers last year, which is more than I can say about Ben Neiman. So they would actually upgrade on that position. Kevin Pierre-Louis would provide the same special team chops, and I bet Eric Wilson probably could as well. And it would actually be an upgrade for a cheaper price than going out and paying for like premium positions elsewhere. So I think the Chiefs can look to free agency. It's a decent linebacker class in free agency, and I'll be writing about the class later this week in the 7 days of free agency, but it's not a bad one. I think that's where I'm seeing the Chiefs fill the need, will linebacker.
I think so too. And I want to get this straight. Just because I'm saying I don't want the Chiefs to draft a linebacker at 31 doesn't mean I'm opposed to them drafting a linebacker at all in this draft. Because I think
Right.
there are some guys at 63 and really past that could be really good. Pete Werner's one of those guys from Ohio State that could is probably a third or fourth round guy, depending how the board falls. It all depends on that.
Yeah.
But I think he could be good in this Chiefs system. He's going to be a guy who's not going to get a whole lot of snaps, right? First off, that's what's going to have to happen. I think when you look at this team, they're not going to get a whole lot of snaps on a linebacker that gets drafted. Jabril Cox, a guy at 63 that could be there, but he seems to be rising up draft boards. It looks like he'll go in between 31 and 63. Another one guy I wrote down was Chas Rat, a guy who's a really strong athlete and could be a really good foresight pick for the Chiefs. But once again, that's not
I
a pick
don't
that's going to
I
make a
don't know
lot
if
of
you actually
impact.
I don't know if you saw this about Chaz though, Tucker. He apparently ran a 4.65 40 at his pro
Oh
day.
no, I did not see
Yeah.
that.
Um, and considering his age and just his rawness on film, I've been like, he's been falling down my personal board a bit recently. If he's running a four
Yeah.
six five at his pro day, that's like entering round four territory for me. But there's another name at linebacker in that area, Baron Browning, the
Mhm.
Ohio State linebacker, I believe. That would also be interesting. He's an uber athlete, projects more as a Will than like a Sam or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think he'd be interesting. There's a lot of mid-round guys at linebacker. Jamim Davis is another one. He's another mover at linebacker that could definitely play Will. So if the Chiefs are looking for a Will in the draft, 31's not the place to do it.
Mhm.
63, there will be one of these four guys there, and they will play Will better than anybody on the Chiefs roster right now. So I think the Chiefs should wait on that. If they don't get Eric Wilson or Kevin Pierre-Louis, look at the draft in the mid rounds. They can fill this need pretty easily there.
Right. Even at, you mentioned the mid rounds, 94. What's the next pick after that?
Mm-hmm.
127. Right around there, I think is going to be absolute money for the Chiefs to get a draft. And you mentioned Baron Browning. I personally, for me, I like Pete Warner just a little bit better. But I mean, both really good, solid linebackers. They're on that
Yeah.
Ohio State team that was actually absolutely insane. I mean, they made it to the national
Right.
championship game. So I mean, lots of good guys coming from Ohio State this season.